Imbibitor Lunae just released in Honkai Star Rail. So today I'm going to take some time to compare him to Blade, and I'm going to be doing this with the Phantylia boss fight. Now, for this, just to go with the criteria that I went through for this comparison, I had them, they were both from front supports, but I made sure they were both level 80 at E0, and since the blade I used in my previous footage had the signature light cone, I also found an Imbibitor Lunae with the signature light cone as well. So, relatively on the same page in terms of their build. So, let's get on right now into Blade first. Now, similarly with, Imbibitor Lunae, Blade was able to deal with the Phantylia fight very well, and I also did choose this fight since they both do have an element weakness of hers, so I am able to break the weakness gauge. And going with the team of Welt, Bronny, and Bailu, as well, Blade was pretty easily able to deal with Phantylia and then her both Abundance and Destruction Lotuses. And the one thing that I do want to highlight about Blade that, we'll talk about a little bit more why this is such a good thing when I get into Imbibitor Lunae, but Blade does not use that many skill points, since you only need to use a skill point once every 3 turns or so just to enhance his basic attack. But after that, he's not using skill points, which is really nice for being able to support him. Because, a lot of these, Harmony characters and whatnot, they want to use their skill to be able to support. Like, Bronya, who I had on this team, wants to use her skill to give Blade another action and also boost his damage. And also, if you're running Ting Yun will want to use her skill every so often. And then, you have Asta who wants to use her skill on multiple enemies. So, being able to have skill points around is definitely going to be really nice for, just the versatility and the characters that are going to, work well with Blade, while also not giving you any, limitations, or as many limitations on the team, because you'll end up not having enough skill points. So that's definitely something that I do like about Blade in this scenario. But now to move on to how Imbibitor Lunae did. So Imbibitor Lunae and Blade, with the same team, they did have around the same clear time. It was about 3.5 minutes for each of them. And for Imbibitor Lunae, he does use a lot of skill points at first, but in the fight, it does get offset by his stacks of Squama Sacrosancta, as well as the Abundance Lotuses giving back 3 skill points when you kill them. So that's definitely really good. But even with that, there were times where I struggled to, keep him supported with Bronya's skill, because there were times where I wanted to get, higher damage, and also the multi-target damage is very good for this fight because of the Lotuses. So I did want to use Divine Spear and Fullerant Leap. So because of that, I just wanted to keep using that. So because of that, sometimes I was like, wow, if I support him with Bronny here, I'm not going to have enough skill points. So I did have a couple turns here and there where I wasn't able to use Bronya's support. So just because of that, his damage, if I was able to have more skill points, probably could have been higher. Or if I had a team that didn't use as many skill points. But just because of that, he did end up doing more damage than Blade did by a little bit. But I think that gap definitely would have been a lot bigger if I was able to keep him more readily supported. But because of all the skill points he uses, it is a little harder, especially with a Bronya. And I do think that Imbibitor Lunae overall is going to be confined to team comps that have characters that don't use as many skill points. So if you have a Locha, Imbibitor Lunae is going to work really well with him because he rarely uses his skill. And then for I think Pella is also a good option because you're only really going to use your skill if you need to clear a buff from the enemy. But yeah, outside of that, I do think Imbibitor Lunae is very good, of course, and you really just have to focus on that skill point issue. So to end it off here, I do think both Blade and Imbibitor Lunae are very strong DPS characters. Them having a 3.5 minute clear on the boss fight compared to, when the fight first came out and you running, I believe I ran something like Welt, Serval, Bronya, and Bailu. I ran something like that for when 1.2 first came out, so even before Kafka, and those runs would take me 5 to 7 minutes. So being able to do a weekly boss at I believe I was doing difficulty 4 in 3.5 minutes is definitely really good. And You know, I really just think the big factor in deciding between the two, like if you're a Blade haver and you're thinking about Imbibitor Lunae, or, you know, if you're thinking about Imbibitor Lunae, but you're also, like, thinking about if Blade reruns, I do think the main thing to focus on is the characters that you plan to use with them, because for the characters that you have built that are supports, if you have characters that are using a lot of skill points, I would probably lean more towards you getting Blade, because Blade is going to, you know, not be as hungry for skill points. You can keep him supported pretty well. Whereas if you're using characters that don't use that many skill points, and, you know, you want a really strong DPS, I would probably say Imbibitor Lunae is a great option. But yeah, let me know what you all think in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, definitely be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, all that fun stuff, and I will see you all next time.
Wow.